So if you try to make Cricut Joy cards, but you only own a Cricut Maker or an Explore, today's video is for you. We're gonna make those beautiful Cricut Joy cards, and we are not gonna use the Cricut Joy, and we're not going to use the Cricut Joy card mat. We're going to use our Explorer, we're gonna use our Maker, any version of that, and just a standard regular green mat. It's all in how you work it in Cricut Design Space. So let me take you in, let me show you what we do, and then we'll go over to the craft table, we'll put it to the test, and we'll make a couple of cards. And if you like what I'm doing here today, guys, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, talk to me, and I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button too. Okay, let's go. So here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I've gone ahead and pulled in a couple of designs. These are some really darling Tooth Fairy designs, and these are Cricut Joy designs. So let me start from the beginning and show you how to do this from A to Z. So the very first thing that you want to do is you want to go into Shapes and grab a rectangle. Now, Cricut has a number of different card sizes, and I'll show you that in a minute, but they have the A1, the A2, and the A6. So depending on what size of card you want to make, that's going to determine how large you make this rectangle. So I'm going to be making the A2 card, and so that is a 4.25 by 5.5 card. So let's just start up here. We're going to unlock this, and we're going to type in 4.25. And then here we're going to do 5.5. Okay, this is the size of the front of the card. Okay, so this is not the entire card, this is just the front of the card. So to make the entire size of the card where you have the fold, unless you want it to be a postcard type, which is what this would be, then you would go into your width and double it. So if you decide you want to make the A1 card or the A6 card, it's the same premise. You would just make your rectangle and then you would, double that width. Okay, so now that we have this, I would go ahead and let's just turn it white just for simplicity so you can see really well. The next thing you want to do is go back into Shapes, and we're going to grab a Scoreline. Okay, so that's what that line is. So now what we want to do is we want to make it the entire height of the card. So we'll go up here, and that height is 5.5. Okay, so then we grab both items. So use your Shift key or grab it over in the Layers panel, clicking on both of them, and then we're going to go into Align, and we're going to align center. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring it perfectly together. It's going to move it horizontally and vertically to make it perfectly centered. Before you click off of that, just go ahead and hit your Attach key. Okay, so now you have this card, this perfect card. The next thing that we're going to do is you can click on just the square, not the score. Don't click on the score, but on the square, and you can go in and change the color. Of course, we changed it to white, but before you move into your design, you could change that color. The very next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over into Images. So let me show you how to find those beautiful Cricut Joy cards. Okay, so if you look over in the left-hand navigation and you look for Project Type, and we open that up, and you see Cards. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to all the cards in Cricut Design Space, over 5,000 of them, and then from there you can use the search feature to find whatever kind of card you want. So let's just say we go ahead and type in Tooth Fairy. And so it's going to bring up all these super cute, these are absolutely darling. And then when you see, like right here, so this is the card that I chose. So you see there's 3 versions of it. If you hover over that, see this is an A6 size card, this is an A1 size card, and then an A2 size card. So this is the one that we want. This is the one that we're making. So we bring that in. Okay, and so now we're just going to be able to set that on top of our card. So what you can do is grab both of them and go into Align, and you can center vertically, and that's just going to make sure that you have it, exactly in the center of this card. Now you are going to have to move it horizontally yourself, but because of the way that they're done, there's not a lot of shifting there that you need to do. Now while they're together, go ahead and attach. Okay, so the black is your cut mark, and then you can see the lettering here and the outline of the little girl or the little fairy. That is your pen tool. So if you want, go over into your pens, and you can change that color, you know, in the system if you want to kind of see what it's going to look like. I'm big about templates and being able to see, you know, on the pink how the gold is going to look. So what I would suggest though is, like, they have used if you look over into colors, you can see they've used a fine point pen. So I would probably stay with the fine point. The reason they use that is because of the text that they have there. And you guys, we're not going to go into it today, but you could use the contour tool and take that text off or add your own text if you wanted to. But I would stick with a fine point. And the reason they did that is because the larger markers are going to like blend all that text together. Now, if you look down at this guy, you could use a marker to draw those designs if you wanted to. So if you go into pen here, and you look, you can see that it actually has a marker, and so you could change that, or you could go back and just use the fine point, or you could use gel. The gels are super cute. Okay, so now that you have all of that done, let's just check it. Yes, everything is attached, and we are ready to go to matte. Now, I'm not sure, let's just look really quickly. I'm not sure if I could get to a matte or not, but this is, we'll check this out. Can't hurt to see. Okay, so we're going to cut this on our maker. Let's hit make it. Oh wow, look at that. You can get 2 cards on a single mat. I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and hit continue. Now that we're connected to our maker, what we can do next is we can choose our cardstock. And so this is, we're just going to use cardstock for intricate cuts. And so it's telling me that I'm going to need to load my pen tool. I love the fact that it tells you in what order. So if you use a ton of different pens, it's okay. It tells you what pen to load. And then here, the single scoring stylus, so the 01. And then now if you're using a Explore, you're going to have a scoring pen. So, but since we're using the Maker, I'm using the scoring wheel. Okay. And so then after we get done with the scoring wheel and the pen, then we're going to be going on to the fine point blade. Okay, so let's go over to the craft table and put our paper on the mat. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and these are the things that we're going to use today. So I have my Cricut pens, I have some beautiful cardstock, I have my scoring tools. So this is the scoring tool for your Cricut Maker, and so this is what I'm going to be using today. But if you have a Explore, this is the scoring pen, and so this is what you would use with your machine. And then I've chosen, actually today I've chosen just to use the fine point. I have this entire set of fine point pens. So I'm using fine point, except I may use this really cool marker, and there are gel pens. There's all kinds of things that you can use with this. But the important thing, oh, and I have my brayer, which I'm going to show you that. The important thing of what we're doing today though is we are using our Explore and we're using our Maker to make Cricut Joy cards without the Cricut Joy card mat. So we're actually going to just use a standard grip green card mat. And now I do want to point out to you guys that this is what the insert cards look like. So if you've seen these in the stores, this is what we're making with this cardstock. If you wanted to try this, you could, because I actually did it and it worked, but you could use the insert cards on the green mat. But what I would caution you is that you will have to use the Snap Mat feature on the iOS, and you're going to have to put it here versus putting it up in the upper corner, and it is going to try to cut out that bottom or that last shape, so you could just like end up trimming off a piece of your card. So, but you could try it, it did work. But for today, we are going to go ahead and put some beautiful cardstock on the green mat and head over to the Cricut Maker. Okay, so let's go ahead and place our cardstock on the mat. One thing that I want to share with you guys is that when you are using these preset packets like this, one of my complaints has always been that I don't know how the pens are going to look on the cards without like testing it in advance. And so sometimes I've made a card and I was like, oh, that pen really didn't show up that well. Well, whenever you make them yourself, you see these little marks right here. This is because I chose the pens that I thought would look right, and then I went ahead and did little dash marks on it and wrote on the actual cardstock so I could get a feel for how that was going to look before I made an entire card. So that is something that I truly love about being able to make these Joy cards on cardstock that I chose myself, and then being able to test the pens out in advance. Okay, so now that this is on here, I am just going to take my brayer and make sure that my paper is down really, really good, and then we're going to hop over to the machine. Okay, so now here we are at the Cricut Maker, and so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the right tool in our B clamp, and so for the Maker, that's going to be our scoring tool, and then we'll put our pen in our A clamp. Now, if you have an Explore, it's going to be a little bit different because your scoring stylus is going to go in your A clamp. So for today, with our Maker, what we want to do is load our material. And then we want to open our B, take out our blade, just set it over to the side, and then we're going to place our scoring stylus, or scoring wheel there, and then we're going to take our pen and put that in A. Now, whenever you're doing anything like this with your Maker, no matter what the project is, it's always going to do the pen before it does the cut. And in this case, it's going to score before it does the pen. So now that you have both of those in, you can go ahead and hit make it. Okay, so here we are back on the craft table. So we have cut out our card, we have drawn our card, we've scored our card. And so when you are working with these different types of cardstock, because you're not using, you know, like a pre-cut card, just make sure that you're choosing the right type of cardstock in Cricut Design Space. There are tons of different ones. I do tend to use the intricate cut ones a lot, although for this is a really thick card, and so I use the 100-pound cardstock. But when I started to take it off of the machine, it actually seemed like it was not quite cut through in certain places. So I didn't unload it, I just hit the Cricut cut button, that little C, one more time. Now it's going to take it back in. It is going to want to score your card again. That's okay. Just put your scoring tool back in and let it rescore, and it's going to want to draw it again. Just don't put the pen in the machine. It'll go through all the motions. It's not going to realize that the pen is not there. And so then you don't have a double draw. And then you put your blade back in and it will recut. And so I actually did that for this one. So now we want to take our cards off of the mat. So we're going to flip it over because we don't want to bend our card. We just want to get it off of the mat. So just go slow. Okay, and so now our cards are off, yay! And it even weeded out, and I say this when we make Cricut Joy cards, like on the actual Joy machine sometimes, it will kind of self-weed if you have a good mat. And so now we've got our cards off. Oh, how cute. Oh, how stinking cute. And so for the most part, this actually completely self-weeded, but you can use a tool to get out any little leftovers. Actually, that one has a tiny little piece. There we go. And so the cards are perfect. Isn't this amazing? Those were Cricut Joy cards that we just made on the Maker. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to make that little insert. If we're going by the dimensions that are on the box, if you bought the card kit, then we're going to want to make these 4 by 5 1/4. So I am just going to take my paper trimmer. Now you could cut these out on the Maker if you wanted to, or in your Explore if you wanted to, but I really like just using my paper trimmer. And so now we're going to need 4 and then 5 1/4. So you can see here and find the 5 1/4 mark, or you could go this way and find your 5 1/4 mark. I love doing this, and it's easier probably to see my 4 here. There we go. And then we can just switch it around. And so then these will be absolutely perfect for our project. And so I'm just lining up, I'm not sure if you can see that on camera, but I'm just lining up my cut. Ta-da! Okay, so now we're just gonna put this out of the way. And the nice thing is a lot of times what I will do is I will cut up a lot of these kinds of things and kind of keep them in a stash so that whenever I'm making a card, especially if I'm making a card in a hurry, I already have a lot of these little inserts set up and available to go. The machine makes a really nice score line. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera, but basically all you have to do is sort of, you know, bend your card and just go slow. I like to kind of do it even pressure all the way along the edge. And it just makes that perfect bend. To make sure that you have the right size insert is to just lay your design on this side and see if you can see all of the little cut edges. And if you can't, then your piece of paper is going to be a little bit too big. So it should be 4 by 5 1/4 for the size that we're doing, but candidly, you may have to shave off a little bit more. And it's just because, you know, the card is not perfect, especially when you have a really thick paper. It can make that area a tiny bit smaller. So don't get frustrated. Just lay it on top, make sure you can see it all the way around. And if you can't, you can always, you know, just shave off a little bit. That's another thing I love about the paper trimmer is it's so sharp. It can shave off small pieces of paper and not, you know, destroy your paper. Okay, so then we'll turn it over. And if you could find double-sided paper, that would be amazing, like a really pretty one, you know, so it has that pattern or some sort of pattern or color on the inside too. Okay, so we'll pop that in there. Oh, so sweet. So sweet. And then we also have this cute little gingham one. I love this one. I'm not sure if you can see it very well. Oh yeah, I like that one. That is so cute. Okay, so what did you think? That was really actually easy to do once you knew how to do it, right? So now you can make all of those gorgeous cards without having to have a Cricut Joy. And you can, you know, make all of your own materials so that you can make beautiful cards just the way you want them to be. So I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, please leave me a comment. Please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you enjoyed it. Let everyone else know that you enjoyed it. It's the way that it gets shared on YouTube, and I will see you guys next time.